I call this meeting of the Northeast Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. The time is 5:30. Item 2, public hearing to discuss 2021-2022 budget and proposed tax rate. A, possible action regarding 2021-2022 budget adoption, Mr. Villarreal, but we had someone sign up to speak, so we need to call them first. Ms. Huey. The trustees welcome comments from members of, okay. The trustees welcome comments from members of the public during this time of the meeting. Generally, board members do not respond to public comments during the meeting, although members may request further information or a future agenda item on a matter raised during public comment. As explained fully in the board's written procedures for this time, the matters from the floor portion is a limited public forum. Accordingly, speakers may present on a topic related to district business for up to 3 minutes, but are not permitted to make 1, personal complaints about an individual staff or board member that should be raised using the district's grievance policies. 2, a personnel action. 3, a student disciplinary matter. 4, a complaint about a particular student. 5, or pending litigation. Any person who persists in speaking on these topics after being directed not to do so will lose the remainder of their time to speak and may lose their privilege of addressing the board at future meetings. We also welcome written comments at any time, either through email at board@neisd.net or by mail, care of the superintendent's office at 8961 Tesoro Drive, 6th floor, San Antonio, Texas, 78217. Ms. Huey. Okay.
Patsy Esterline.
Yay, everything's getting back to normal. So, good evening, President Groen and members of the board, Dr. Micah, executive staff, and guests. I'm Patsy Esterline, president of the Northeast AFT. Our address is 10615 Perrin Vital, Suite 203, San Antonio, Texas, 78217. Northeast AFT asks that the teachers, librarians, nurses, counselors, as well as other professional job categories receive at least a 4% pay increase of their salary, not 4% of the midpoint. There also needs to be adjustments to the hiring or salary schedule. On the current schedule, there's only $1,578 difference between a teacher with no experience and a teacher with 10 years of experience, which averages to an increase of $157.80 per year. With 20 years of teaching experience, you make $59,178, an increase of $6,178, which averages to only $308.90 per year. I don't know of any other profession that pays so poorly. Any ISD step schedule for the teachers used to have increases from $800 to $1,200 per year, and it's a shame that the district moved away from that. For paraprofessionals and auxiliary personnel, we ask that a living wage of $15 be adopted and that proportional adjustments be made throughout the pay family, ensuring there is no compression. We also request a 4% pay raise to be applied to each paraprofessional and auxiliary personnel pay family. Northeast AFT asks that the district increases their contribution to the health insurance. Since the employees are facing an increase in health insurance premiums beginning in January, we ask that the district continue the trend of contributing to their portion by 4%. With experience comes wisdom, so let's truly value our employees and reward them with a significant pay raise that won't be nullified by the increase in health insurance premiums in January. We would also like to ask you to pass a resolution allowing the board to act on a retention supplement during the school year should finances allow. This would give you the flexibility to reward teachers and support personnel for their loyalty to the district as well as helping to retain them for the future. And you only have to remember one number, and that's 4% that is. Thank you.
Okay.
That's all.
Mr. Villarreal.
Yes, Madam. Yes, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Mike, executive staff, and guests. Tonight we bring you the budget for adoption and the proposed tax rate. The requirements for budget adoption rules are the district must be prepared by June 19th. It has to be prepared by June 19th and adopted a public hearing by June 30th, which we're doing tonight. The board must adopt budgets for the general, debt service, and school nutrition services funds, which we're going to speak about in a minute. And the notice of public hearing must be published on the district's website and in a local newspaper at least 10 days, but no more than 30 days prior to the meeting. It was published on June 12th in the Express News, and it's in our website. And we may not adopt the tax rates before the budget, and we'll be bringing those back to you in September. And with that, I turn it over to Brian Moy, our Executive Director of Finance and Accounting.
All right, thank you, Dan. Good evening. We're going to make this presentation very short. To remind you of what's going on with the tax rates. Our M&O rate is pretty much it's just locked down to in HB3. It is whatever is the compressed tax rate this TEA comes up with, and then we add our 5 pennies on top of that. We are not assigned our compressed rate by TEA until late July, early August. And then we need to work with our truth and taxation consultants and the county to make sure everything's in line. That's why we don't come to you with the tax rate adoption officially until September. One thing that we do have a little bit of flexibility in is the INS rate, and we're bringing it down again. That's to 30 cents even, so that means the INS rate has gone from 40 cents to 30 cents in 6 years. Technically 7, sorry. What does that look like on the average homeowner? Mr. Hillier, you made mention of this at the last meeting. For this purpose, we are using what could be the maximum M&O rate. And we do the maximum here because if we were to publish a lower number and then TEA gives us our compressed rate and the amount that we would adopt is actually lower than what we put in the newspaper, we would have to do another newspaper ad and another public hearing. So just know that on the M&O side, that is the absolute max. It might come in lower once we get to September. But it won't come down much. I mean, it may be a penny different. And that will not be enough to counteract a 6.6% increase in the average home value. So you can see here that with this maximum amount possible for M&O and bringing down the INS a little bit, the average homeowner will still see increase in their taxes of $196. And with that, I want to turn the rest of the presentation over to Susie Lackhorn, Director of Budgets and Financial Analysis.
Thank you, Brian. So we talked in depth Monday night about the general fund. So tonight we're just going to review those numbers. Here is our revenue budget for 21-22. As you can see, the majority of our estimated revenue for 21-22 is coming from local property taxes. This chart gives you a history of what percentage of our total revenue comes from local property taxes versus the state. And as you can see, we're expecting 21-22 to be about 77% local property and 15% state. And if you look back to 2011, 2012, it looked a little different. It's 58% and 35%. So it's been steadily declining. You see a slight increase once HB3 was passed, and then you see it start to decline again. So as we gain more in revenue from local property taxes, the state reduces revenue on their side. So, all right, let's talk about expenditures. The majority of the district's expenditures are spent in instruction and instruction-related costs. So that's roughly 66%, 7% for instruction and school leadership, 10% for student support services, and 2% for administrative support. These are the same numbers we walked through Monday night. 12% for non-student support services, and less than 1% for other functions, giving us a total appropriations budget of $579,522,200. For school nutrition services, we're looking at a total estimated revenue of $41 million, most of that coming from the federal government. We're going to be moving to the summer feeding program. We talked about this about a month ago. And so instead of operating under the National School Lunch Program, we'll be operating under summer feeding program, which means our children will eat for free, but we'll still charge adults. So these are our estimated meal prices for the year. And here's our expenditure budget. The vast majority of it going to food services. Total appropriations of $38.8 million. On to debt service. Total revenue of $161 million. Total expenditures of $158 million. And we want to make sure that that helps us end the year with a healthy fund balance, because we'll have an August debt payment due in August of 2022. We'll need to use the June 2022 fund balance to make that debt payment. So with $146 million as our estimated fund balance in June 30th of 22, we have plenty to make the August debt service of $56 million. We also have to reserve our funds for the QSCAB payment that's due in 2027, and we even have some funds set aside for early payoff of principal, saving our taxpayers money. With that, that is the expenditure budgets and revenue budgets of the funds that we are asking you to adopt tonight. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank a lot of people. Building these budgets takes quite a bit of work, I'm sure you can imagine. The general fund budget alone is made up of over 200,000 individual items that collapse into over 17,000 unique account codes. So that 20-digit account code, we've got over 17,000 of them in the general fund budget this year. I have quite a few people here tonight who are listed here. So if you're listed here, if you don't mind, please stand up so we can thank you for all your assistance. They don't ever want to stand up. Thank you. And thank you. Obviously, your engagement and your participation this year is greatly appreciated. And that's all I have. So if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them for you.
Did you have a question? Go ahead.
Not really. I don't really have a
Oh,
question.
well, you moved the mic. So.
I did. But I've been through a lot of budget sessions through my years with the city of San Antonio and other entities. And in addition to you thanking the list of folks, I'd like to thank everyone myself. I think this was very well put together. All the questions were well, in my opinion, well answered, and really took into consideration all of the fiscal variables, if you will, because there's a lot of variables that goes into a budget. It's not just your typical, revenues and income or things like that. And I think it's important for everyone to, especially the public, to be able to understand the complexities of putting together a school district budget. It's not the same as all of your typical budgeting activity. But from my perspective, I just like to thank everyone for the time well spent and the research, the analysis, and everything putting together this budget. And that's why I don't have any questions.
Thank you, Terry. Does anybody have any questions? Or?
I actually had one question that I've had 3 weeks to ask, and I keep forgetting to ask it. It's very simple. On the food nutrition, there's a one line item for safety and security for $1,000. What exactly does that entail? I know that's a very small amount of this budget, but
It's there in case we need services from the Northeast Police Department.
got it. Okay. That's all I need. Thank you.
Anybody? Okay. Terry, you spoke so well for us. Thank you for doing that. Because, yes, everybody's done an amazing job, and I believe that you all are the best in the business. So, do I have a motion to adopt the 2021-2022 budgets for the General Fund, Debt Service Fund, and School Nutrition Services Fund?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Winkley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Item B, possible action regarding proposed compensation plan for 2021-2022. Mr. Jimenez.
Thank you, President Grona, members of the board, Dr. Micah, executive staff, and guests. Shiloh Whidden, the Executive Director for Human Resources, will address this action item.
Thank you, Mr. Jimenez. Good evening. So tonight, we seek your formal approval of the compensation plan for the 2021-22 school year. The proposed compensation plan includes the following: increase the starting salary for teachers and librarians with 0 years of experience to $54,250. For eligible teachers and librarians, grant a minimum 2% of midpoint increase equaling $1,120. Place new to district teachers and librarians with 25 years of experience at the new maximum of $62,050. In addition, in accordance with House Bill 3, for eligible classroom teachers with more than 5 years of experience, continue to pay them an additional differentiated pay amount of $600 or $1,200 annually. For eligible counselors and nurses, grant a 2% general pay increase based on the midpoint of the new 2021-2022 school year pay scales. For all other eligible professional and administrative employees, grant a 1.5% general pay increase based on the midpoint of the new 21-22 pay scales. For eligible bus drivers, custodians, food service assistants, special education assistants, and instructional assistants, adjust their starting pay to align with market and provide a corresponding general pay increase of at least 3% based on the midpoint of the new 2021-22 pay scales for current incumbents to alleviate compression. For all other eligible employees, grant a 3% general pay increase based on the midpoint of the new 21-22 pay scales. In addition, if and when ESSER funds are received and other budgetary conditions permit, as determined by the superintendent in conjunction with district staff, the district would like to provide a one-time retention supplement for employees during the 21-22 school year, and also consider and identify high-need and hard-to-fill teaching areas and offer a new teachers a signing bonus as a recruitment incentive. Both of these two would be paid in accordance with criteria approved by the superintendent. Lastly, we do have the item for the teacher incentive allotment that is included. As previous school year, we mentioned if we hire individuals that come to us or earn these designations, we would continue to pay them at least 90% of the funds that we received. Do you have any questions before any further action is taken?
Any questions for Ms. Whitten?
One question. If we're able to do the, I'm going to call it the retention supplement, if the ESSER funds come in, is it going to be across the board for that, or are you looking at all the different categories? There's going to be some system in place that Dr. Micah would take into consideration, I would assume, but just it's not going to be necessarily a flat, or how is that going to work? Just trying to understand.
Correct, Mr. Hilliard. So because we're not certain how that all plays out, what we're trying to do is give ourselves maximum latitude to take a look at that. So it could be anything from a flat percentage increase. It could be just a flat dollar amount. It could be differentiated. It could look a lot of ways. So once we're still waiting on some information through ESSER. So once we, once it fleshes itself out, then we'll be able to come to you all first with a presentation as to what our proposal would be.
Fair. I guess my real question is both salary and hourly employees will both get some sort of, assuming there's money for that, or not necessarily, or is that to be determined?
That is to be determined. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. That was my question, really.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So Mr. Hilliard, I'm going to jump on something here. The last meeting, I believe you had some hesitation around federal dollars. And so I want you to know I spoke to the commissioner today. I believe we won't have a problem moving forward. What I asked him specifically are we going to be forced back into certain health protocols? He does not believe so. And that is, I expressed my strong belief that we need to move away from all those things. And I believe our leaders in the state believe that as well. Okay?
Anybody else? So do I have a motion to approve the compensation plan for the 2021-2022 school year?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Winkley. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Williams. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Item 3, new business for possible board action. A, business services. 1, possible action regarding final budget amendment. Mr. Villarreal.
Yes, Madam President. We bring to you tonight the final budget amendment. We had approved 2021 budget back in June 22nd of 2020, and we have to, by law, the amendments have to be shown for general fund, debt service fund, and the school nutrition fund, and we're asking for y'all's approval for the final budget amendment.
Any questions about this item? No? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the final budget amendment?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Leos. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Byer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Item 2, possible action regarding fund balance commitments. Mr. Villarreal.
Yes, ma'am. I call on Brian Moy to talk about the fund balance commitments.
Thank you. This is a accounting nerd requirement. At the end of every fiscal year, there are certain individual funds that are listed in the resolution where the board must say, we commit these funds for these purposes. One which is we are still working through the hailstorm fund. Because of the type of fund it has to be placed in, but we don't have like a grantor forcing us to use the money a certain way. The board has to say it. And we moved some money out of this fund. Earlier in the year, you decommitted some money after Gary had finished all of his bids. We knew that, hey, we still had some money left over, so we came to you and decommitted a portion. But just for the purpose of June 30, every June 30, you have to recommit what's left. So this will probably be the last year on that fund as we finish out the projects.
Okay. Any questions about this item?
Do you recall how much was in the hail damage replacement fund that's remaining? I don't remember.
I
off the top of my head.
believe there is just under 3 million remaining.
Okay, I knew it was.
And that is, a lot of that is already committed to jobs that Gary recently brought you bid approval for, so those will be taking place over
Right.
the summer.
Okay, thank you.
Questions? Questions? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution committing certain fund balances as of June 30, 2021?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hilliard. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Laos. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Item B, consent. 1, business services over 50,000 purchases. Does anybody want to pull that item? Okay, so do I have a motion to approve consent?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Winkley. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Mrs. Williams. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. We do not need to adjourn into executive session because there will be no action on that item. So the next item is 7, adjournment, and the time is 5:54. Thank you again, everyone, for being here, and great budget.